Welcome back to today's edition of untrue and misleading TikTok videos. I do these videos because so many people watch these videos on TikTok and various other social media platforms and believe every word that it's said. In this particular case, because the lady that said it said that she was a police officer before, so inherently people might trust what she says. So I feel it's important to bring some of these to your attention and tell you why they are simply untrue. So welcome back, I'm the Black Belt Barrister, helping you to understand law. So please remember to subscribe so that you receive more videos. So we're going to break this video down into one or two sections and then I'll tell you what I think. Let's watch this.
When we say words like, do you understand, when a police officer says to you, reads the caution and says, do you understand? What they're actually saying is, do you stand under our authority? Now again, you know, I didn't know this as a police officer, and even the words that are spoken as a police officer, police don't even necessarily understand themselves.
So first of all, the words "do you understand" are not even part of the caution. The police caution is, you do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. This is simply a police caution. It's warning you that you do not have to say anything because you're not obliged to say something that will be self-incriminating. But the caution is warning you that it would harm your defence if you don't mention now at the earliest opportunity something that you later rely on in court. And the reason for that is something called a negative inference or an adverse inference. And simply put, it's this. If you had a perfectly plausible and simple explanation for why it wasn't you, or you weren't there, or you didn't do it, or they've got the wrong person or something like this, and you don't say it at that earliest opportunity, and then later on, when you get to court, let's say you're being prosecuted for that offence, and you say, well, actually, I wasn't even there, then there will be an adverse inference drawn by a jury, because the jury will be invited to consider why you didn't mention that in the first place. Because if it was such a simple explanation, in theory, you would have said that at the earliest opportunity. Equally, if it was someone else, if it was mistaken, or any of those reasons, or even if you acted in self-defense. If you acted in self-defense at that time, but you didn't say so, but then you said later in court, I was only acting in self-defense, the jury may well think that you've been encouraged to say that by your lawyer, because that could be a reasonable, valid defense. But if it's something related to that self-defense, you may not have referred to it as self-defense. But if you didn't mention that when questioned, then it may result in an adverse inference later. And then the final part of the caution is a warning that anything you do say may be given in evidence, and that's self-explanatory. But at no part of that caution are the words, do you understand? Because the police are not required to determine whether or not you understand the caution. It's a caution, a warning. It's something given to you so that you are aware that you don't have to say anything, but it might harm your defence, and that what you do say might be given in evidence. It is just simply a caution. So where the words "stand under" have come from is quite simply fictional in this case. So this is not true. Let's keep watching.
So I believe that people have to consent to a law for it to apply to them in the legal sense, because it's not common law. Again,
and for reasons I've given in other videos, this is also not true. That consent is not required for law to apply to any person. The High Court has already ruled and commented that consent is not required for legislation to have effect on individuals, and indeed it is enforced whether you consent to the law or not. This is a misunderstanding going way back to Magna Carta, where consent was used in a very different sense, but it does not mean that consent is required for law to apply to individuals.
So when you interact with the police or the court system, they will ask you for your name, address, and date of birth. This is done to create joinder between you and your legal fiction, and to trick you into representing it. Once you agree to represent your legal fiction, now they can deal with you.
Again, this is simply not true. The reason that you are asked for your name and address and date of birth is to identify you. Because if you are suspected of being involved in an offence or the commission of an offence, then you are asked for your name, your address and date of birth, and sometimes place of birth, so that you can be identified. Because if the state is going to prosecute somebody for an offence, it's important that it's the right person. Now, with lots of people with the same name or similar names or similar description and even same name, same date of birth and so on, it's important that the right person is prosecuted for any given offence. Now, if you want to know whether or not you have to talk to the police and give them your name and address, again, there's a video linked in the description that you can watch that. But simply put, you need to give your name, address and date of birth to a police officer if required to do so, if they suspect that you've been involved in an offence or some other kind of antisocial behaviour. So whilst we do live in a free state and you are free to do anything you wish, providing there's no law against it, please do remember that your consent is not required for these laws to apply to you. And I will always fight for your right to do anything that you please within the bounds of the law and to ensure that those boundaries are not crossed even by police officers or by anybody else, to infringe on your rights and your freedoms. But please always seek formal legal advice if you are unsure where those boundaries are. So please remember to subscribe, and thank you for watching.